Yo, YouTube, what up? Thanks for my subscribers. Thanks for the folks that's watching. This is gonna be a fun one today. Uh, we'll be talking about uh, Marvel. That's Marvel, DC. The comics. And the movies. I brought out the comics because I wanted to show people that I was literally collecting this. I got way more than these. Most of them are over my parents' house, but I had like a little small stack that I kept for myself to show my son. See, I got like GI Joe, I got X Men, Spider Man, and all that other stuff. That's kind of like the nerd side of me, but that's what helped me with as far as reading, as far as being good reading the Bible and the scriptures and stuff like that. It started with comic books, you know, and I'm gonna share like a quick fun fact with you, yo. I don't know if y'all remember the like I said, this is gonna be a fun episode today. Um, y'all remember G.I. Joe? Yo, the G.I. Joe comics, these joints. Yeah, I don't know if y'all heard that boom, man. I'm outside right now. I might have to sing this in the house. I don't know. Like it's gonna be a thunderstorm or something today. Y'all see, I got the Doctor Doom shirt on today. Um, but the G.I. Joe comics, it was nothing like the cartoons. Yeah, the soldiers used to get killed. Mammals used to die in these joints, man. Like they was real. That's why I like the G.I. Joe comics. It was a lot of realism to them in comics. It was total opposite to the cartoons. My favorite comics I liked when I was growing up, I like of course Spider Man. He was my favorite one, like my first one. Like this may be why I like to talk so much and stuff like that. He always had like a smart aleck mouth. You know what I mean? Get the gab. But another one always like the Incredible Hulk. When I was a little kid, I was like, yo, I wish I could just turn into a big brolic monster and just wreck shop. I wish I could do that. But also I like the X Men. X Men was another one that I liked. Um, I had different members that I like with the X Men. I know most people they say Wolverine. I like Wolverine too. But I like Gambit. I know my brother he likes Cyclops. I know my brother's favorite hero was Iron Man. But I pray that this storm holds out. It's like it's about to rain cats and dogs out here. Uh, but I want to talk about basically um, the hypocrisy of some of these movies that's coming out. How they ruining a lot of these comics. That's why I talk about like the MCU. How they basically taking like the new Fantastic Four movie. Yeah, they done turned the Silver Surfer. They done made him into a girl. I'm like, yeah, this feminist agenda is just ruining everything. It really is, man. It's destroying what's going on. I'm not even gonna talk about what's the guy's name, Jonathan Majors. He's supposed to be Kang the Conqueror, but the guy I forgot the actor's name that was the Flash in DC Comics, and how he was doing some sexual assault allegations and some things, but he was able to do his movie. I'm just speaking on the hypocrisy of a lot of these families. What's going on. But like I said, I wanted to have fun with this episode. Like I said, when I was young, like I used to collect comic books. Like I said, Spider Man, the Hulk, X Men, those were my favorites. But Batman for DC Comics, Batman, Superman, I did all that. Like one of the last movies I saw was Batman versus Superman. Now I don't know who y'all think would win in real life. When I first seen the joint, I was like, man, young Superman would crush this dude. Like his powers, like there's nothing Batman can do, but Batman, his greatest asset was time. The fact that he could assess his enemies and their weaknesses. So I was like, imagine, you know what? I could see how Batman could, how he could beat Superman. Superman with his weakness with kryptonite. The ironic thing is, like I said, I got the Doctor Doom shirt on, and like they're about to have a movie that's coming out, the Fantastic Four movie, and Robert Downey Jr., the same guy that played Iron Man, Shout out to my brother. He was the first guy I knew that loved Iron Man way before the movies came out. My brother liked Iron Man like back when we was little kids. And all of a sudden, the movies came out in the 80s. No, I mean, I'm sorry. The movies came out in the 2000s. My brother liked them back in the 80s. When the movies came out in the 2000s, now all of a sudden, everybody's a fan of Iron Man. But folks were rocking about Iron Man like that back in the day. But the irony is, it's like Robert Downey Jr. is supposed to be the new Dr. Doom, I guess, in the Fantastic Four movie. And I like the Fantastic Four. You know, Reed Richards, The Thing, Johnny Storm, The Invisible Woman. You know, like I said, I collected all of these. I wish I had my whole collection of comics. It's Saturday, so I'm just trying to have fun with this. I'm not trying to get too serious or nothing like that. But I did want to speak on the discrepancies, like I said, with Marvel Comics, and especially like this liberal agenda with the media, with the MCU. That last Thor movie sucked. Love and Thunder, that mess was wax sauce. Y'all want to have a female Thor. Y'all want to have a female Silver Surfer. I'm going to call it like I see it. It's like there's no originality. All y'all do is take, y'all take what the men have established and y'all want to put a female face on it. You know? But I say, what's really going on? That's why my last episode I said what I said. I'm not going to get into too much, but I know the last movie that I saw, I went and saw Logan about Wolverine. That came out, I believe, back in 2017. Yo, it's storming like crap out here. I pray that God that, you know, that my computer don't get wet because I'm on a balcony filming this. But I remember I watched Logan in the movie theaters, and, you know, it was a cool movie. It was like the older Logan was battling his young self. And it's like, I can relate to that to a certain extent. You know, some of the things I did in my past and how I used to be and how I am now and how I'm trying to, you know, establish who I am now to go against what I used to be. You know, but again, I'm not going to get too serious. If y'all see this video, I want y'all to chime in, you know, tell me who was y'all favorite superheroes growing up. What was your favorite movies watching? Because I know me and my son, I got like a couple of movies in my house. Like one of the joints we always watch, we used to always watch, was the Avengers, Age of Ultron. That was a good movie. That was a good movie. Yo, how they nerfed the Hulk. And yo, to this day, I still haven't watched the Infinity War movie and the one that came after. I haven't watched either one of those movies. Because I done heard how they nerfed the crap out of the Hulk. Made him into the smart. That mess was whack, man. And y'all want to sit here and gas up Ms. Marvel. Like, look, man, no one cares about this feminist garbage agenda, man. Y'all sitting in here ruining movies with this crap. Y'all are ruining quality movies with this garbage, man. You know, it's a lot of fans that read the comics and support these movies, and I refuse to support that. I think the newest movie I watched was the Spider-Man. I think it was No Way Home, the joint with Doctor Strange in it. That was the last one I watched. But I'm like, how they literally gassing up these movies on some feminist, liberal, demon crap garbage. They're literally ruining these freaking movies. Like it was a level of masculinity to a lot of these comics back in the days. You know, I posted a short about that earlier, about the attack on masculinity. I hope y'all check it out. Like I told you, I'm gonna keep coming with this every day. If not every day, every other day. You know, it's ironic I got the little bucket hat on because, like I said, it's raining cats and dogs out here right now. But I ain't stopping. You know what I mean? Dr. Doom, man. But yeah, there was a lot of comics I used to love to watch. Like when I started collecting comics, like and when I was young, like the Hulk, he was like the Gray Hulk. He wasn't even the green one. This was like in the late '80s when I was a little kid. And it was around the time that uh, I share a story with you, yo. Like I told you, my parents, they were like kind of strict. And like I remember, like I said, I used to collect comics. I had a little allowance and things like that. And I used to go out, buy these comics and read them. And I remember my step pops and my mother, they literally took all my comics and threw them away because they felt like I didn't read the Bible enough. I get what they was doing, but it was to a level of extremity. It's a shame, you know. But yeah, going back, like when I was collecting comics, when the Hulk was the Gray Hulk, he was fighting things. Like I thought these things was like so cool. It was a fantasy aspect, and like I said, it was a level like of masculinity with a lot of these comics. Like another guy, I like Captain America. Like to this day, most of the people say that Captain America: The Winter Soldier was the best Marvel movie. It was a good movie. It was a good movie. I told you, when I was growing up, Spider-Man was my favorite. I like the Incredible Hulk. I like as a group. I like the X-Men. The Avengers was powerful. I got some comics with X-Men versus the Avengers. I got the Fantastic Four, all of them. I played the video games, all of that. But I just wanted to touch on things from a serious aspect, like how they're taking this liberal, feminist, elitist Rainbow Coalition agenda and they're like incorporating it with the comics because they're trying to literally push this mess on children. Like y'all ain't slick and y'all ain't smart as y'all think y'all are. I see exactly what y'all are doing. Remember, I got a young son that I got to raise in this. I think it was a series called The Eternals that came. I think it was on TV or something like that, but it was pushing some rainbow stuff on that. Like I said, with Thor, this feminist garbage that they pushing. It's just like y'all sit here like that doesn't translate in real life. Like I said in my YouTube short earlier, I'm gonna say it again. Y'all gonna act like masculinity is toxic, but masculinity ain't toxic when it's time for your garbage to be picked up. It's 100 degrees outside. These garbage men, I don't see no female garbage men. I see all men. Much respect to the garbage men out there. When your power is out and it's 2, 3 in the morning and you want your power back on, usually it's a man working on them power lines. These are the real superheroes. For the women that hate men, somebody break into your daggone house and you want to call the police up and you're hoping there's some big brolic men to protect you because you done rejected your husband, you done rejected masculinity as a whole. Yeah, I'm gonna call all this mess out. It all ties into the comic books, man. I see through this crap, man. The people that fought, what's funny? Yeah, that's God. Amen. That's God speaking. Lord, don't rain down on my computer. I recognize the power of God. There's an order to this. I done said it numerous times. There's an order to this, man. It's God, man, woman, children. Period. And these freaking liberal, demonic, satanic, worshiping elitists, they want to flip the script. Y'all ain't in control of this. I'm gonna put it to you like this, man. And I told you I ain't on no preaching mood, but my favorite verse in the Bible, I believe it's Romans 8:32. What shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who should be against us? I'm gonna say it one more time. If God be for us, who should be against us? I'm out here, it's storming, it's raining, and this is how much God works. It's raining, but ain't none of it touching my computer. I'm on my balcony, usually when it rains and it storms, and it gets out, it's not touching my balcony at all. So, maybe, God is honoring what I'm doing. Because at the end of the day, we are his entertainment. We are his entertainment, the angels' entertainment. Excuse me. These people don't understand this mess, man. I don't want to get, like I said, I don't want to get to the preachy mood, but at the same time, I do want to kick the real in the midst of this, man. But like I said, I wanted to have some fun with this, but at the same time, kick a little bit of knowledge. Because my page is different. Like I said, the one thing, like I said, look, man, I'm from the 90s era, man. I'm Unc status. But at the same time, like, from that era, you had to have a level of originality, meaning you can't copycat on others. It's a lot of guys that I'm influenced by. I can give a shout out to all channels. Shout out to Carcino for Life. It's what started my YouTube stuff as far as watching the videos when he did the truth behind the series with hip hop and stuff like that. Shout out to Carcino for Life. Shout out to Too Raw for TV. The way he brings, like, he talks about sports, but he talks about things from a political perspective as well. Very intelligent brother. I don't agree with everything he says. There's certain things that I disagree with, but I respect him. Shout out to Ticket TV. Like, man, you want to talk about raw, uncut, like straight, like street status? And again, they gassed up these Indian players. I believe Ticket TV, like that dude, he played pro ball like overseas. That dude was like I believe he's 6'9". Like, that dude, he handled his business, man. I respect him. Like I said, like with the Bible, like he would be one of the men that would be called with King David. They would call him one of the mighty men of renown because of his physical status. But remember, God looks at what's in your heart. I hope that I get these brothers respect at some point because I'm putting in work myself. I ain't the biggest dude. I ain't the biggest dude, but I got the biggest heart. And y'all gonna see that in time, man. I'm not talking about one thing in particular. Like I said, I was on nerve status when I was younger. Kaboom! Guess who stepped in the room? Guess who stepped in the room? You hear the thunder out there, man. You looking at the real life Black Adam. Yeah. I'm gonna talk about that too. You remember like why they blackballed Black Adam, that movie with The Rock? Too much masculinity. Yeah, they ain't like that mess, man. They ain't like, I love that movie. I got a Black Adam shirt. I wish I had wore that for real. But I say, let me wear the Dr. Doom shirt today, man. I got a couple of Marvel joints. I got a Spider-Man joint, Captain America, Black Adam, things like that. Like I said, I love Superman, Batman, all of them, man. That's got, like, little boys were inspired by these things, to be protectors. But they want to sit here and push Ms. Marvel in the MCU and that garbage with She-Hulk. With that garbage, man, that was on, I don't know, it was Netflix or whatever, young. That mess up. And the thing is, what's funny? I like She-Hulk. Like, I don't have a problem with women that exercise or get their muscles because I can appreciate beauty in all types. You with me, I'm going to remind you that who the man is. Hollywood Hogan voice. Tell him who the man is. Yeah. But, with that said, like I said, I wanted to have some fun with this, man. I didn't want to be too serious. It's Saturday afternoon. It's raining cats and dogs outside, man. But at the same time, relentless, man. I'm nonstop. I don't care if this joint says 0 people watching, 0 subscribers, because I know God is watching. Bump everybody else. I know God is watching. That's the most important thing at the end of the day. Y'all worried about everybody else. I know who's in control of all this. But like I said, I get passion, I get animate. Yeah, thug passion, man. But yeah, like back to my comics, man. I got X-Force. I got the New Warriors. What y'all know about that, man? I got the Avengers. You know what I mean? I got the X-Men. You know, the Amazing Spider-Man. You know, so I know about that. I got so many comics, man. Like I can speak on this, man. And I will say a certain thing, man. Like why I said at the beginning, why I feel like I'm the voice of the voiceless. Because I remember you could take it back to school, and you could take it back to the cool kids were at this table, and the cast outs and the nerds were at this table. For some reason, I always fit in with both. Because again, like I told you, look, man, I'm from Southeast Washington, D.C. That's always in me. With that said, my family, we moved around a lot. So I was always the outsider. That's why I started with the Scott Hall status. Me and my brother, we were the outsiders. We were the real life Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. We were the outsiders. You know, I read a lot of comics. You know, I played video games. You know, these are things that, people look and they say, oh, these are the nerds and stuff like that. But I always had a natural gift to gas. And I'm not trying to gas myself up. You know, I was born this way. You know, filter myself a lot when I'm at work, my regular job. I can't say too much, while I'm doing what I do for a living. But again, I'm gonna say it before. My ancestors died so I can speak, so I can say these things. And again, not to digress too much, but like I said, the MCU, I say that, Marvel with their feminist agenda is garbage. It sucks. And the people that support that crap, most of them is because they don't have kids. In particular, they don't have sons. I told you, I got soldiers to raise in this, man. God don't make no mistakes. I got 2 sons. I pray that my firstborn checks this page out. And my baby boy, he sees this all the time, man. Daddy is doing his part. But, like I said, have some fun with it. Trying to think, you know what? The best Spider-Man movie was probably part 2. I believe that was the one with Dr. Octopus. That was the one, that I think was more in depth, and the acting, and as far as the storyline, it was, it was perfect, pretty much. As far as the Avengers movie, like I said, me personally, I like the Age of Ultron a lot, but I also like, the Civil War. With the Black Panther, and I'm gonna touch on that too. Them Black Panther movies, John, all they did was gas up all the women. You made the men look weak and non-existent. You think it was a coincidence that the actor that played the Black Panther died? I don't believe in coincidences, man. I'm gonna kick the facts, man. Y'all want to sit here and y'all want to have, because y'all so threatened by black male leadership, that y'all want to push the women in the front. Not knowing the women, they don't like that crap. They're attracted to masculinity. So take a step back. These little chess games y'all trying to pull ain't gonna work, man. I see right through them. I see right through them. Like I said, these little freaking degrees and these little college educations is indoctrination, man. The scriptures talked about that, man, about the wisdom of man compared to the wisdom of God. The wisdom of God comes from the Holy Spirit. Like I have said many times, it's not who man selects, it's who God elects. God, I know in my heart, God already chose me. He made me like this. What's the famous terminology for the Democrats with the Rainbow Coalition? I was born this way. I've been like this. I filter myself while I'm at work because of what I do for a living. But like I'm gonna say it one more time, my ancestors died so I can speak on this, man. Yeah, Dr. Doom, baby. Let's get it. Bucket low, like bucket though. You know, I said I'm gonna have some fun this Saturday. You know, I'm gonna speak on various things. But I said, let me talk about the comic aspect. I talked about the video games last week. I'm gonna touch on that some more. Don't worry. When I had my son with me, I said, let me talk about the comic books because that's where I got my love for reading from, seeing the stories and stuff, not knowing that, you know, in the scriptures, like I said, my favorite story in the Bible is the story of David and Goliath. I love that. Like I said, you got real life superheroes too. And me, I'm just trying to do my part. I pray at the end of the day when my life is over, that the Creator, that God Almighty, that Jesus Christ looks at me, Yahweh, Yahshua looks at me and he says, you know what? You've earned it. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Real talk. But back, on a lighter note, man, I remember when they talked about Captain America, the Winter Soldier. A lot of people said that was like one of the best Marvel movies. I know for Batman, they talk about the Dark Knight. And I've done my research, man, with Heath Ledger and the real reason why he died. A lot of these actors, they sit there, to be in character and to get these roles and to get these parts. They do certain things from a spiritual aspect. And when I say spiritual aspect, I'm not talking about from a righteous sense. I'm talking about from a demonic aspect. That dude I've done my research, he used to astral project, out of body experiences and stuff like that, kind of hit the other side so he can get that component so he can be the Joker. And basically, how they saying going, for the dudes that, and I'm not trying to shout them out, but I've heard the terminology for the people that have abused drugs and stuff like that. They call it a bad trip. Heath Ledger had the ultimate bad trip as far as having an out of body experience, being that Joker character and getting, those spiritual elements so he can act and do these things. That's the part that Hollywood doesn't tell you, that a lot of these actors, they practice a lot of demonic spirituality, to where they're able to music too, but to where they're able to complete these roles. Why they've done such a good job. They're tapping into something, but they don't know what they're messing with. Because when you do stuff like that, there's a price to pay for that. It ain't for free. So yeah, you get that role and you do that part. And guess what? Satan is waiting to cash his check. And it's funny. I talk about the comics, yo. It was a character in Marvel Comics called Mephisto, whatever you want to call it. He was actually based off of Satan. I think DC Comics had something like that as well. Like I said, I'm not gonna get too preachy, but at the same time, we adults, man. I'm not gonna sit here and act like these things don't exist. Marvel Comics should be ashamed of themselves with this weak, rainbow-listic, feminist, demonic, weak, whack agenda that they trying to push. That's why the She-Hulk, that little series they had, that's why it flopped. And it's a shame because I like the She-Hulk. But y'all want to sit there and gas her up. All you do is you sit there and you nerf the male characters. You want to make the men all weak and you want to make the women all strong. That don't reflect real life. That's some fantasy garbage. That's why these women are miserable. And that's why these men out here are freaking feminine. You bunch of Barack Obama worshipers. Forgive me, man. I had to, man, because like I said, this dude think he's so freaking slick. But I'm gonna stay on topic, man. With with the comics and stuff like that, and with the movies and with their agendas and what they're trying to do. I see right through that crap. Why? Because the Holy Spirit guides me. I'm going to say it one more time. Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. I'm not a saint and none of that stuff. But God made me for a reason. Obviously, he made me a chosen vessel to get his message across. You can either accept it or reject it. That's up to you. At the end of the day, when I'm accountable, when I'm standing before him, I know I did my part. And I'm like, Lord, this stuff is garbage. It sucks. I like movies. I like to be entertained. I was raised on the comics. I love video games and stuff like that. But I see this clear agenda that's what's going on. And all it's doing is breaking up families and creating resentment. That's all it's doing. It's not unifying nothing. It's creating division. And that's what they want. But at the end of the day, like you know what's funny? One of the prayers I said back in 2017, I'm actually going to quote it on here. I never said this before. I used to always say, because I was aware of the things of this world, I said, Lord, give me a front row seat to these devils' destruction. Because y'all going to bust hell wide open with your little tactics. Y'all mock God with the comic books. Y'all mock God with your movies. And y'all mock God in day-to-day things. I ain't nobody's fool, man. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Y'all ain't slick, and y'all ain't fooling nobody. Like I said, at the end of the day, I know that God is watching. Bump a YouTube channel. I pray, I get an opportunity to do my thing and be able to be successful with this and reach the people and it resonates with them and, they're able to relate. But like I said before, I'm aware of a greater power. Y'all are so concerned with the things that y'all see that y'all are not aware of the things that y'all don't see. For no man has seen God at any time. Oh, yeah. I'm going to say the rest of that for tomorrow, man. I just get amped up, because I see through these tactics, man. And I'm still pissed off about, how, certain sects of this country use my people in particular, because we're very influential and they try to use that for their benefit. And there's a price to pay for that. So this Dr. Doom shirt, it ain't for me. It's for you bastards out there that sit there mocking God's chosen people. I told you I'm having fun today, man. It's the Sabbath day, remember? This is the day God rested. I'm sure he's enjoying the entertainment as well. I'm just a soldier in this, man. That's why another one of my favorite comic book characters, one of my favorite comic book characters besides Spider-Man and the Hulk was Captain America. Why? Because Captain America's greatest power, it wasn't his enhanced superhuman strength or slightly enhanced speed and things like that. It was his heart. That was something he was born with. That was the power he already had. I always loved that about him. But again, like I said, I didn't want to get too serious, but like I said, when I touch on these topics and things like that, at some point, because I'm going to tell you, the foundation of all that is God, okay? The foundation of all this in the earth. Like, these people go through, the day-to-day routine, they forget what the foundation is. The reason why you're alive, the reason why you're breathing, the reason why you're able to do what you do is because God Almighty, Jesus Christ, Yahshua ben Yosef, Yahweh, Yah, the Most High, Jehovah. Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to say something, but I'm going to save that for the hip-hop subject. Yeah, I have a level of awareness. I have a level of respect. I have a level of fear. When they talk about the fear of God, they're talking about reverence, not fear and trembling, although you know what he's capable of, you will be trembling. Because man didn't make this. But at the same time, like I told y'all before, it's real life superheroes, man. That that guy that goes and fixes your power and turns your power back on at 2, 3 in the morning when the electricity goes out. That's a real life superhero. You know, the police who y'all demonize so much, who put their lives on the line to keep the streets safe, that are away from their families, those are real life superheroes. The firefighters who, when everybody's running away from the flames and the smoke and all that, who put on that tons of equipment and sweating bullets and going into that to try to rescue people. Those are the real life superheroes. The soldiers that fight wars for this country, that represent us overseas, that sacrifice time away from their families. Those are the real life superheroes. And again, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to go back to the source. The ultimate superhero for all of this, who's the most powerful superhero ever? Jesus Christ, who died for us. Died. In the human flesh means he felt that. All that pain. When they slammed that crown of thorns on his head, ripped that skin and he was bleeding. When they spit on him and they cursed him out as he was stumbling with that cross. When they nailed in his hands and his feet. And he sat on that cross for 9 hours. When he was dehydrated and died and was sitting there crying about he thirst, and they gave him vinegar. When they pierced him in his side and, punctured his lungs. As you're sitting on that cross, you're trying to hold yourself up, and your skin is tearing, and you can barely breathe, and you're sliding down. Yeah, he was the ultimate superhero. So I had to get on like a slightly serious note on this, man. Reason why? Because, like I said, I'm sitting outside. The storm has stopped. It was doing a thunderstorm. Usually it rains cats and dogs. Not one raindrop touched my computer. I know that's God Almighty. And I know at the end of the day, this show and these things that we do are for him. And for the angels that watch over us. I'm just doing my part. Like I said, forgive me for being serious. I told you. Spiritual too at the end of the day. But like I said, on a lighter note, I got Daredevil comics, Spider-Man, Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, G.I. Joe, Batman, Superman, you name it. I got all sorts of comics, man. Because I can relate to the haves, I can relate to the have-nots. When I say the haves, I'm not talking about rich people because I'm far from rich. But I'm talking about I go back to, school where the cool kids sat at one table and, nerds and the outcasts sat at the other. For some reason, it's like I could always sit at both tables. But I always related to the nerds and the outcasts because it seems like, with the quote unquote cool kids, you always had to prove something to them. And with the nerds and the outcasts, all you had to do was be yourself. That's all I'm doing. I'm not being something I'm not. I'm having fun with this at this point. Like many times I've said, I hope that, that it resonates. If it doesn't, so be it. I know at the end of the day, when I stand before God, I did my part. But again, back to the topic. Marvel Universe, y'all ain't slick. Y'all are pushing a rainbow, feminist, demonic agenda. And I see right through it. That's why most of your new movies are flopping. Because, and it's funny, most people that support them are those people who don't have kids. Because if you have a kid in this, you'll see right through it, especially if you got a son. Because they're not attacking femininity. Because remember, women can do everything men can do in these stupid movies. Yeah, not in God's eyes. He made a difference for a reason. And I told you, I got soldiers to raise in this. And I'm going to call this crap out. I'm not going to sit there and accept it and be blindly programmed. because I don't like the way somebody looks. I'm getting political now, so forgive me. But I pray for y'all. I really do. I really do. Y'all open your eyes and y'all see the truth into all this. Because it's all a sick game, and the people who are playing this game, they're gonna pay the ultimate price. And when I'm standing with Christ and his angels, his believers on that last day, I want a front row seat to when God stir fries you bastards. All you ones that mock him and mock his people, with this spirit of Lilith, the spirit of Jezebel, because y'all don't like men, because y'all know men bring the order, so you have to attack masculinity so you can push the opposite thing. So you can get these superficial, weak rewards on this earth, not knowing that you don't live forever. On a lighter note, man, like, as I go back and forth, I'm gonna end it on a fun note. I got this joint X-Men. I don't know if y'all can see it, but I thought it was cool. Like, it was the comic where Colossus, he was taken over by the Shadow King, and he actually was bad because Colossus, he was big and powerful, but he was real, like, he kind of held himself back because he knew the damage he could do. And the Shadow King kind of took over his mind, and he was attacking like Professor X, stuff like that. We got to see that. Yeah, I got some good comics like X Factor, the new X Factor with the multiple man. I got some good ones, man. I got some classic ones too, a bunch of ones, man. Like one of the best comics when I was young, I didn't appreciate till I got older. Is a member of the X-Men. I believe his mutant power was like to build and create stuff. Like he could think of something and all of a sudden he created. There's a guy named Forge, one of the best comics, yo. The agony of Forge, because he was an ex-soldier that was in Vietnam, and he was having flashbacks of all the guys who got killed and died. When I was young, I couldn't appreciate that, but I end that, on this note, because like I said, in my line of work, ironically, a lot of people ask me, yo, you ex-military and all that stuff. And I told them many times, like, nah, I'm not. I've never served in the United States Army, and much respect to the soldiers who do. But I'm a part of God's army. I'm a part of God's army. And it's certain things that you're born with. I have a soldier's mentality. I didn't have to be taught this or programmed or indoctrinated with this. I was made this way. Isn't that their favorite terminology? I was made this way. Yeah, I was made this way. I'm God's soldier. I'm a part of God's army. And hopefully at some point, in my life that, God can see that I was one of the superheroes that was down on this earth. I'm done for the day. Thank you for your time.